AEW Dynamite just had their biggest rating in months after they opened their show with an hour-long matchup between two of their biggest stars. We're going to talk about the rating, what it was, what it means, how AEW can keep it up, and everything else we know about the situation. We're also going to get into another major update in CM Punk's return to WWE. What is the latest development? Find out right here in this video. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. So, AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday had a pretty star-studded event, or was a pretty star-studded event. Opened up the show was MJF, Will Ospreay, International Championship on the line. They went 59 minutes and 58 seconds in that honestly classic match. I'll talk about that and my feelings about that in just a minute. But followed up by Mercedes versus Nyla Rose. Followed up by a main event featuring Swerve Strickland, the champion, and Kazuchika Okada. Well, the question was, what was going to be the result? What was going to happen? Would it affect ratings? And the answer was yes. So AEW Dynamite this past week, as you can see from this chart, courtesy of Brandon Thurston and WrestleNomics, garnered 795,000 viewers on average this past week, which is up pretty big from their last week, which was right at 691,000. That is a 15% increase week to week, and an increase of over 100,000 on the average viewers. And then the key 18 to 49 demo, they garnered a 0.27. That was an extraordinary number, much higher than their past few weeks, of course. And if you're wondering, looking back at the past 4 weeks, they averaged 640,000. So they promised this big show for Dynamite 250. They built up this big match, and it delivered. And we can have a conversation about this not being the end, and AEW needs to do more, and we will. But this is their biggest rating since the April 10th edition of AEW Dynamite. And that specific show garnered an 819,000 viewers. So, huge increase from where they were, where usually over the past few months, their ceiling has been right around like 720, 725. And it just seemed to have gone down and down from there. Of course, on Juneteenth, they had that really bad rating of 500,000 viewers, the lowest for Dynamite in its regular time slot. And everyone was wondering, like, what's going on? Like, is it over? How is this going to impact the TV deal? And slowly and surely, we've seen AEW kind of pick things back up. I don't think this is back where they want to be at still. I think this is a great sign of where the show is, because I said it right after that rating. I said, look, the rating for the show that you're watching now isn't necessarily made up and determined, like, that day, right? As far as who's going to tune in, who's inspired to tune in. If you tell me that Dynamite is must see, if you show me every week, week in, week out, that AEW Dynamite is must see television, then I am going to watch. And one thing that they have done ever since that show in Fairfax, Virginia on Juneteenth, they have changed up the formula for what Dynamite is. And I've talked about this at length. I'm not going to go too into it, but you want to make sure your show is unmissable, and you highlight your biggest stars and you advertise your biggest stars for your shows. If you do that, that is only going to help matters. AEW for the past few years has been very inconsistent at doing that, and because of that, I think that hurt ratings, or that was one of the reasons that ratings really, got hindered there especially over the past year. I mean, they were in a place in 2023 in 2022 where they were hitting at least 900,000, which is a great number, and now it's like it got down to 800,000. It was like 650 to 700,000 was their average for the past couple of weeks, as I mentioned earlier. So things needed to change up, and they have, right? The formula for the show feels different. It feels good. It feels like something that you are excited to watch. It feels like AEW in 2022 and 2021. So, again, they continue that formula. I think it'll bode well for them. Some other notes courtesy of WrestleNomics. AEW Dynamite year to year still down compared to last year in Q3, 2023. Their Q3 average right now is 725 for 2024. Compared that to 885,000 in Q3 of 2023. That's a dip of 18%. Also saw a same dip of 18% in viewership from July 2023 into June 2020, or July 2024, excuse me. So thank you, Brandon Thurston and WrestleNomics, for breaking down those numbers. Another note, Dynamite was ranked number 7 for the day on cable in the 18 to 49 demo. That is 5th in prime time. Of course, that is against heavy competition, and I think it kind of speaks to the show. They went up against heavy competition in the Republican National Convention. Like, if you saw the ratings for what those were garnering, it was like in the millions and the tens of millions if you go and aggregate all of the different feeds of it, because you have every single news channel showing the same feed, so people are going to watch whatever news they want, right? It was very stiff competition in that respect. So to be able to pull off a number despite like the stiff competition, despite like the national news story of what happened to the former president, it is honestly a little bit more impressive that they garnered this rating. It is not the standard that they want. I don't think it's the goal. I think they want to be at least at that 900,000 mark in average viewership, and they want to. I think you want to be in between like that 0.27 to 0.30 and above for the key demo. So still a lot of work to be done for AEW, but I think they are slowly getting back to what made things work. And look, we want to talk about it. That hour-long match, I think, helped. One thing that has been consistent, if you look at the quarter-to-quarter comparisons of television, like for AEW Dynamite, MJF is a draw. And he is, right now, their biggest draw. When he is on TV, that is when you have the highest viewership. And AEW Dynamite, for those of you who may not be aware, the trend usually is, and this is the trend for most television and most wrestling, honestly, viewership is at its peak at the beginning. And as a promoter, as a booker, what you want to do is to ensure that you get like that massive audience that's going to be there at the beginning and you hook them for the end. So that's why you will see a tactic deployed when, WWE or AEW, like when they really want people to tune into that last quarter hour, those last 30 minutes of their TV show, they will set up the main event in the first segment. That's why you've seen that traditionally a lot of times in the wrestling format. So if you combine the fact that MJF is their biggest draw as far as a viewership standpoint and an average viewership standpoint, and you have him on for half the show in that capacity, in that Iron Man match, basically is what it was. Like that is going to help things for sure, and that is going to keep viewers interested and keep them engaged. And look, the match was amazing. Some people are saying the greatest match in Dynamite history. It might have been. It might have been. Like for me, I think like my favorite match of Dynamite all time was Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. I also honestly thought like Bryan versus Hangman was a great match, but this is like right up there. This was a spectacular match. I think this might take the cake for best television match of the year, or one of the best television matches of the year, definitely. But I thought this was amazing. I think like what they did here was interesting too, because they didn't just have a great match. They went out there and told a story. They told a story that is going to try to hook fans going into their biggest time of the year, All In, right? That is their biggest show of the year. That is their stadium show. That is where they're going to have at least 40,000 plus. We don't know what the updates are from WrestleTix. I have not seen that come through yet, but at least 40,000 people before a match was announced bought tickets for that show. That number is only going to increase over the next coming weeks. So you have all this hype around AEW. You have all this hullabaloo hoopla, as I like to say. I think MJF and what him and Will Ospreay were able to do in that match is only going to help things. Again, consistency is key here. It's very easy as a booker or as a showrunner to get, used to things and, get complacent with things. You cannot let that happen, right? There need to be mechanisms in place that prevent that. I hope Tony Khan is doing that. But if the last month or so of TV is any indication, AEW restoring the feeling one step at a time. Guys, let me know in the comments, though, what you think of this. Or is AEW headed in the right direction, or do you disagree? Let me know in the comments, because I know you will anyway. Let's move on and talk about CM Punk. CM Punk has not been cleared, for in-ring action ever since the Royal Rumble. He obviously tore his tricep in that match, and while he has gotten, a little bit physical and to varying degrees, it has not been anything close to being in-ring ready. Well, according to Mike Johnson of PW Insider, he is now reporting that CM Punk was in the ring and the Performance Center trying to get cleared by WWE doctors. And you combine this with Dave Meltzer, who just a few weeks ago was talking about, Punk, it's trending good, and he might be ready for SummerSlam. Not confirmed yet, but it's trending that way. It all signs to me, obviously, hopefully Punk is good and he's ready to go and he's healthy and he's well enough to go. But I think, all of these are really good signs for the idea that we may see CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. And if you look at the way these promos have been building up and the way this feud is really heated up, they are not leaning out of it. They are not putting it on the back burner. They are leaning in as much as they can. If you want an indication of that, look at Money in the Bank and what they did there. Drew McIntyre not only got screwed at Clash at the Castle, he got screwed at Money in the Bank. And now it just feels like in the story, something needs to come to a head. I don't think they're going to wait it out any longer. I don't think they would push this out like they did if they didn't at least believe that CM Punk was ready to go. And Punk himself, it's worth noting, also said at the Clash at the Castle press conference, and look, he may have been working, but he did note that he was hoping to get cleared soon. He has said as far back as WrestleMania that he feels great and that the only thing holding up the process are the WWE doctors and them being cautious about the situation, which is a good thing, honestly. And it's great to see that in that respect, WWE has made strides in protecting their talent. But I would put my money on Punk probably being ready to go by SummerSlam. Again, fool's errand for me to decide or speculate on that, right? But I'm just going to throw it out there. This is what I do. I talk about and analyze the news, and then I also give my take. That's my take. I think WWE has a pretty good idea that Punk will at least be ready around SummerSlam time or by SummerSlam. So that's why they've been leading into this story, and I think that's the match. And look, I don't think this feud necessarily ends at SummerSlam. I believe that they are bringing back Bad Blood for a reason. And there's no two people in WWE who have more bad blood right now than Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. This is the best and hottest feud that WWE have right now. The reactions it's getting online and in the arenas are second to none. And you also just happen to have one of your biggest stars, two of your biggest stars, obviously, but one of your biggest stars of all time in CM Punk, who is, as we know, he is a cult of personality in himself in the world of professional wrestling. So that's what I think is going to happen. We will see, but I want to hear from you guys. What do you think is happening? Is CM Punk going to be ready by SummerSlam? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you haven't already done so, do me a big time favor and smash that like button so as many people as possible see this video. It really helps out the algorithm and helps the channel grow. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. And until next time, be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it real.